Well, what a remarkable evening. To think 40 years ago tonight, we didn't even know if we would move to the West End from the Barbican Theatre. And here we are, in front of this incredible cast all this time later. It's been extraordinary. Les has been the most remarkable family that has grown and grown and grown. It started in the theatre, it's moved to the movies, and now it's in arenas. So it's been the most amazing few days here when people have crossed the generations. Swings who've become Jean Valjeans, young Gazettes who've become old Gazettes, who've become Fontines, and are now Madame Thénardiers. There are several Mariuses that I've already booked to play the bishop. And it's been fantastic. I realise more than half my life is either represented on this stage or in this auditorium. It's fantastic. So I have 40 years of thank yous. There's so many wonderful people, both on stage and off stage, and of course, my amazing team who've made all this happen. It's incredible. Of course, Les Misérables began its life in Paris, but this British version has been the most wonderful collaboration between Alain, Claude-Michel and I, and Trevor, and John, and James Fenton, and Herbie Kretzmer, and Laurence, and James, who've done this wonderful production tonight, which, taking the work of everyone that created it, and they put it on in this beautiful theatre, which was completely rebuilt for Les Misérables. So thank you all so much. 1,000 thank yous to everybody, but most of all, I must thank the two people who have brilliantly had the inspiration to write this show. Without them, this fairy tale would never have happened, and we would not be here tonight. My dear, dear friends, Alain Boublil and Claude-Michel Schönberg.
You can dream all the dreams you want, but you have to be seriously out of your mind, or under some strong substance, to imagine for one moment that you would be celebrating the 40th anniversary of a show of our musical, Born in Paris. You would be celebrating that anniversary in London, in the West End, and in a theatre bearing the name of Stephen Sondheim. There's someone out of his mind called us back in 1983 and said, I'm Cameron Mackintosh. That name didn't ring a bell. A British producer, okay. I have never seen the show, he said, in Paris, but I've heard half of the concept album you've done, and I think you don't realize what you have written. That was a good start. 3 weeks later, Claude-Michel and I were in London, and suddenly, dreaming awake, were introduced to British theatre royalty, Sir Trevor Nunn, John Caird, poet James Fenton, and a few months later, Herbie Kretzmer, fortunately, joined the team, I should say the family. Unfortunately, as you know, he's not with us anymore, and he's sorely missed tonight. He's probably seeing the face of God. So I want to thank you for helping us to shape up our original work to what it has become today, which was a wonderful collaboration, a work of several weeks, month, at the Barbican, in order to make it the finished musical that audiences have loved. Well, some hiccups on the way, like a few weeks before the first preview, an English daily whose title was "What Can Be Worse Than a Bad Musical?" A French musical. So, thank you all, and Claude-Michel, it's to you.
Can you imagine the amount of work to have to deal 40 years with the Cameron Mackintosh? Wait. With the Cameron Mackintosh Symphonic Orchestra playing every night the score. I really need the help of a lot of people. And of course, the first one, I hope he's here tonight, is John Cameron. He started by being sick in a dinner we had in Paris.
What food?
Yeah. And after, I have other collaborators, because one night we went to see Evita, or I can't remember which one. You know, there was many shows in London already. And Cameron asked me to rush. Okay, so, and we saw a production on stage, and we didn't see the microphone. There was no mic. We thought it was a miracle when we realized that they had little mic here. And we said, but who did that? So everybody told us, but it's a new concept by Andrew Bruce in a company called Autograph. So we say we want it, and we managed to get it, and that was the beginning of the technical problem. So we had to keep going, and a wonderful thing did happen to me, is that part of the young team working with Cameron, I met somebody I like very much. We have been collaborating very closely together, and he's still there tonight, working for us on all the shows we have been written. It's not so much of him. And, but thanks to him, thanks to Stephen Metcalf.
Hi, Trevor. Good evening, one and all. Theatre is storytelling, so allow me to tell you a story that's called How Did This All Begin? Back in 1985, the Royal Shakespeare Company had very recently moved into the custom-built Barbican Theatre. I was the RSC artistic director, and I was looking for an epic project that would somehow broaden our audience demographic.
I was already close friends and colleagues with Cameron Mackintosh because together we had worked on a little show by Andrew Lloyd Webber called Cats. So I was fascinated when Cameron suggested that I should listen to a tape recording of a concert that had been presented in Paris of a new work based on Les Misérables by Victor Hugo. Well, luckily, I'd read that thrilling novel as a student. So, could this be what I was looking for? When excitedly, having listened to that tape, I concluded that it was, then to present this thrilling score by Claude-Michel, Schönberg and Alain Boublil, I knew that I would need to be employing the same creative team with whom I had previously done the epic Dickens novel adaptation, Nicholas Nickleby. So, my co-director, John Caird, my designer, John Napier, lighting designer, David Hersey, they all had to come back in and work on this. So, of course, I urged Cameron that this huge project could be launched under the banner of the RSC, and with extraordinary wisdom and generosity, Cameron agreed. A co-production. This meant that with the RSC long-term contract acting company, we were able to do a period of improvisational work, including movement work under the direction of brilliant Kate Flatt, and to organise a longer rehearsal period than the commercial theatre would ever contemplate. Of course, the hope was that the RSC production would then transfer into the West End. Previews at the Barbican, standing ovations every night, including press night, then the reviews. Total thumbs down across the board. Can you believe that? The reviews said, how dare they do this to Victor Hugo? Or, who needs to be bored for 3 hours by a French novel? The press decided our show was a flop. As the creative team gathered for lunch the next day, a lunch intended to discuss the possible West End transfer, the atmosphere was like a funeral wake. Grim occasion, minus all laughter, all chatter. There were no mobile phones back then. A waiter came to the room that we were in and asked if a Mr. Cameron Mackintosh could come to the front desk to take a phone call. He did, and was gone for about 5 minutes. Then it happened. Cameron returned, tapped his glass, silence. Then he said, that was the Barbican Theatre box office on the phone. There are queues around the block. They need to take on more staff to cope with huge telephone bookings. We're transferring to the West End. Mouth had spoken, and Cameron took the plunge. It's 40 years since that moment. Since then, I don't think any of those newspaper reviewers has said, okay, maybe I got it wrong. But it was audiences who decided that our show was a hit. So, thank you, Cam, and thank you all.
My mic stand.
Hi, John.
Of course, Trevor and I were greatly blessed in our amazing creative collaborators. especially, we've all mentioned Herbie Kretzner, who would have been 100 years old 4 days ago. And we're thinking we should have a Herbie Day every October the 5th every year. And we're all going to meet for the 41st next year, because otherwise we might not be here the year after that. Anyway, I can't believe how lucky we were in our collaborators at the time. They were an extraordinary bunch. We had, of course, the brilliant John Napier, the king of theatre design, and Andy Neophytou, the queen of costume design, and the wonderful, wonderful David Hersey, the prince of writing design. Trevor talked about dear Kate Flatt, our lovely movement director, and as well the late, much-loved Malcolm Ransom, our violently joyful fight director. And last, but never least, our dear Cameron, positively the emperor of producers.
Let's have a big applause for this amazing team of people. Too many. I just want to say what an absolute pleasure it was for James and I when Cameron asked us 15 years ago to look at doing a new production for the celebrations of the 25th anniversary year. And it was an extraordinary request, and we were blown away by just the very idea that we would have an opportunity, having been actors in the piece once upon a time, knowing exactly what it felt like to audition for the show, to tread the boards, to sing the material, and just know how powerful a piece this show was, created by this magnificent bunch of human beings. So we set the task, and we were lucky enough to have the wonderful Matt Kinley, who beautifully lit by the most wonderful Paulie Constable. We had wonderful costume designs, obviously by the same Andy Neophytou, and we had, Paul Wills, and the gorgeous, remind me, Christine Rowlands! Oh my God, Christine, please don't beat me up. Sorry, Christine, I knew I was going to do that. Okay, and then of course the wonderful sound design of the most remarkable Mick Potter, who gave us this wonderful surround sound. It's an absolute pleasure for us, 15 years on, and we feel like we're such a small part of this incredible celebration. 40 years. It's quite an extraordinary thing, but it's a show that I believe lives in the heart of everybody. It tells a story that is timeless. And you know what? The most important people that have been part of it have been you, who have come time and time again to support the show. Production after production, country after country, seen by millions. It's just Les Misérables.
Okay, very quickly. Thank you all for being here. We've got another little bit to show you, which you're all going to love, I promise you. I'd like to thank everyone, all the crew back here and through the years. They've been so bloody brilliant. All the dressers who love their stuff around this building, countless hours. It's just brilliant. Thank you all very much indeed. And I'd just like to say, the greatest privilege of my professional life is to be stood here sharing the same space with these brilliant individuals. I thank you from the bottom of my heart. Have a great night. Good night. Thank you. Cameron,
Now we've reached the intermission. I am so thrilled to bring onto the stage, from the 40 years that we've had, some of those brilliant artists, stars in their multitudes, to entertain you tonight with this